Beatriz. Before introducing you to our topic, I'm going to tell you a little story that you may have heard in the news or even read in the newspaper. This girl named Catherine Xavier was raped and killed by a 40-year-old man named Jesus Rojas at Iglesia Antonio. This man had spent 10 years in prison before for burning down his uncle's house, and then he was released. He spent 8 months only in jail for chasing after his sister with a machete, trying to kill her, and he got out. And now his victim was this poor little girl which by the age of only 3 years old was already raped and murdered. Our topic today is capital punishment. Well, capital punishment was once part of our national constitution. However, it was abolished in the year 1882 by Thomas Wagner. We consider that capital punishment should be put into action because, according to the president of the national organization, ASOPAS, Beatriz and Kristhel, since the criminal procedure code was established, delinquency rates have continued to increase over the years because, let's say, criminals don't have a real punishment and they have a lot of alternative penalties to keep them from going to jail. Now that this is going to start with our first argument, which is decreasing crime rates.
So, if capital punishment were implemented in Costa Rica's legal framework, we would have a decrease in crime rates. The first evidence we can offer you to prove this is the study The Death Penalty, published by the Michigan State University and Death Penalty Information Center. It has been proved in this study that in countries where death penalty is actually applied, crime rates have really diminished. According to this study, if murderers are sentenced to death and executed, potential murderers will think twice before killing for fear of losing their own life. In fact, in 1999, Isaac Ehrlich, the director of this study, employed a new kind of analysis and that produced results showing that for every inmate or prisoner that was executed, 7 lives were spared because others were deterred from committing murder. And indeed, Scott Turow, in his book Ultimate Punishment, A Lawyer's Reflection on Dealing with the Death Penalty, states that the death penalty is the only and the best penalty to punish offenders, and is the only penalty that could really deter criminals to commit a crime. And so, as you can see, if capital punishment is implemented in our legal code, we could really have a significant decrease in crime rates. Now, Kristhel is going to continue with the next argument,
which is use of capital punishment. According to Carlos Arguedas, a journalist from LaNacion.com, the president of the Corte Suprema de Justicia, Luis Paulino Mara, considered that the reasonable sentence for criminals is 25 years in prison. Only 25 years. So let's say if a 20-year-old commits several crimes like rapes, murders, robberies, and so on, by the time he gets out of jail, he would be 45. And he would still be young. Do you really think that's punishment enough for a person that commits all those kinds of crimes? We certainly don't. Moreover, in an interview at CFDS, the criminal lawyer Juan Diego Castro said that here in Costa Rica sentences are unreal and even a practical joke. This is because, according to him, politicians do not have a clear and definite criminal law, so they don't agree in a sentence, and sometimes, well, many times, they just let the criminals go. Let's take the example that I just told you. That guy, 20 years old, commits a crime, or let's say several crimes. he wouldn't be out at 45. He would be out at, let's say, 40 or even 35, which of course it's just not fair. As I told you before, Tomás Guardia abolished the death penalty, saying that human life is inviolable. In fact, according to the Human Rights Association, capital punishment overrules our most basic and important right, which is the right to life. And of course, we agree with this. I mean, we all have the right to live. But many criminals don't see it that way, and they don't respect this right. They just kill people, and it's not fair. In addition, according to a study made by students from the University of Barcelona about capital punishment, they mentioned the absolute theories of punishment. This is based on the natural liberty and equality that we have as human beings. And these theories state that when a person commits a crime, he or she has to be penalized with an equal damage. Moreover, even though the victim and the victim's family status won't be restored, at least an execution will bring closure to the murder's victim, and even it brings closure to the suffering of the family. And this penalty, capital punishment, will prevent criminals from creating more crimes.
Our third and last argument is that capital punishment would lower government expenses. I guess you probably know that our jails are extremely overpopulated. If you don't, I would like you to know that according to a report presented last March by the Departamento de Planificación del Poder Judicial, there are more than 10,200 prisoners in Costa Rican jails. So imagine the amount of money that our government is spending supporting all those prisoners. Don't you think it would be better to spend part of that money improving the lives of Costa Rican families that really deserve it, instead of giving rapists and murderers a roof over their heads? Well, now I want to prove that death penalty would help our government to save money. By showing you these statistics that are part of the investigation that Kristhel mentioned, the one made by the students from the University of Barcelona. Well, here we have the differences in cost. On one hand, we have the cost of having a prisoner in jail. The government spent around $34,200 per year for 50 years, which is the maximum penalty here. At a 2% annual cost increase plus $75,000 for trials and appeals. All these expenses equal to $3.01 million. On the other hand, we have the cost of a case of death penalty. We have the government spend around $60,000 per year during 6 years at a 2% annual cost increase plus $1.5 million for trials and appeals. And this gets to the result of $1.88 million. So the difference that yes, it was supposed to be hearable. The difference is that is an amount of $1.13 million. And although we do not have the exact numbers for Costa Rica, with these statistics we could infer that we could have a situation like this one in our country. We could save money if we implement capital punishment in our legal code. And maybe some of you have heard that capital punishment is very expensive. And it may be expensive, but there are certain pages that may contradict me or contradict us, but most of them are not reliable because they are just against the penalty. It's important to let you know that you have to do research in order to know the costs and the differences and the importance of this punishment. Besides that, I think that with well, I'm sure that with this statistic we have here, we can see that that it's better to invest in killing someone that may cause more problems to our society in the near future than spending our money supporting or giving serial rapists or serial murderers an opportunity to continue damaging our society, hurting innocent people.
Okay, to summarize our main points, the basic arguments we have to support capital punishment would be, as Beatriz said, decrease crime rates, impose of real punishment from criminals, and last but not least, it lowers government's expenses.
So, capital punishment is the best solution to decrease delinquency rates. It is time that the victims' rights become more important than the latest pobrecito. It's time that we act, that we actually do something. It's time that criminals pay for all the misfortunes and darkness that they bring to the families of their victims. Thank you very much.